My name is Zane, and growing up, and still to this day, I have idolized my father, just as so many other children do. My father is the man he is today because of the many difficulties he went through as a child and growing up in a bad home, to say the least. I strive to be the father and husband he is to my family when that day comes for me. He has taught me so many lessons in life through the stories he would tell my brothers and I as we grew up eating dinner at the dining room table as a family. My father, Joseph Warner Butts, grew up in Xenia, Ohio, a small redneck town just outside of Dayton, south of Cleveland. His father remarried when he was a young boy, and he would tell me stories of his stepmother, or as he refers to her, the step monster. He told me stories of how him and his brother were abused to no limit. His stepmother would beat him with a wooden spoon even if he got a math question or a math equation wrong during homework. And if he got into trouble, his punishments consisted of cutting the lawn with scissors or a belt lashes to the bare behind. He eventually ran away from home to Arizona, where we currently live, and met my mother freshman year of high school. He swears that she's the one who saved him from getting into more terrible things. In high school, my father continued to get in trouble, though, especially if it involved other men picking on my mother. He would tell the story of how a guy would play with my mother's hair in history class while staring him down, practically taunting him. After my dad had enough of the harassment, when leaving the class one day, my dad politely asked the guy to remove his glasses from his face before hitting him square between the eyes. He was suspended a couple weeks and had to pay the price for the broken glasses because the guy never took them off. Eventually, graduation came, but he was unable to do so because of an altercation between his PE teacher and him. Apparently, the teacher believed that my father had been fed with a silver spoon his whole life, and my father disagreed. However, a night class and a stolen summer later, my dad did eventually receive his GED. My parents hastily got married after high school at age 19 and 20, even after being told not to by my mother's parents. And I can see why, with my father being the troublemaker he was. My dad would always say, "I wish I could have been a fly on the wall to know the conversations your parents had that night of our wedding." When he would talk to my mother. My mother gave birth to all four of my brothers and I while my parents were in their 20s and struggled through life together for many years, but they made it. My father went through many jobs to keep the house afloat during those years of having 4 children, and my mother would stay at home and babysit multiple children. He was the head coach to all 4 of us for baseball and football. He taught us all how to respect our vehicles and maintain them properly. He's an everyday example of how to treat your loved ones, and especially how to treat your wife. My mother and father are the parents to 4 somewhat successful children, and grandparents to 4 beautiful children. They have together created a life that I will never take for granted. And it's because my father made that decision when he was just 13 to jump on an airplane to Arizona to start a new life.